All right, everyone, it is interview time. And this is a fun, playful, I'm so bad at sexy voices, sensual, sexy.
I don't think you're bad.
Eargasmic episode about audio erotica and eargasms. We say eargasms, guess what? We're not teaching you how to like touch or look at ear. We're talking about how
the wet willy.
Yeah, April's currently touching my microphone. Trying to give me a dry willy and my microphone.
You also have headphones on, so that didn't work out.
Yeah,
my advantage.
Yeah, it didn't work out so well. Yeah. So, anyways, this is about audio erotica and what it can do for our auditory senses and to help us tap into more of our sensuality, sexuality. And, you know, we have these senses, was the five senses. And some people I think are more, actually, you and I both are auditory, I think, right, April? We both identify as very auditory people.
I can watch porn. And actually, if I turn off the audible of the porn, I don't get as turned on. I need the actual auditory, that what's happening. Like I can actually just get off without viewing anything. So,
I too also like if I were to just look at a naked body, I'm kind of like, but the sounds and the energy, then that really gets me. So we're talking about that and how this we can use as tools. And also we're here with Lala, who offers a whole website, you know, a whole bunch of opportunities, a whole bunch of different avenues for you to go and get your audio erotica on. So spoken by the master. Lala, we're so happy to have you here. And even though we read a little bit about who you are in our bio, can you tell our listeners about how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so happy to be here. So how my journey started was I was 13 and I had a sex positive parent and I really loved young adult fiction. And she was like, oh, I think you'll love romance. So she would give me books that her friends were reading. I don't know if she knew how sexual they were, but I mean, read awesome. Them and I read them and I loved them. So they were kind of what normalized sex for me growing up. And I know for a lot of people, like television, movies, books are kind of like their first sex educator. And so from there, anytime I was stressed out or I wanted to get turned on, I would read erotic fiction. And so that went on in my adulthood too. So I started having issues with my pelvic floor, with endometriosis. And one of the ways my pelvic floor therapist was like, to help me get more relaxed to do the exercises was to listen to erotic content. And so then I got a subscription to an audio erotica service, and that would help me relax and get in the mood. And so I wanted to share audio erotica with other people so they would understand the mental and sexual health benefits and also be entertained.
Oh, I love that. And I love your background. If you're not watching on YouTube, y'all should check it out because there's a little penis pillow behind
is that a little dick back there?
That's a little dick right there.
Penis.
It's thick and wide, though.
And then there's a yellow, smushy,
cuddly
thing as well.
That's
so
swingers? Isn't pineapple the swinger symbol?
Yeah, it is if it's upside down.
Upside down. I said that to someone at a wedding, a dude wearing a pineapple shirt, and some of them were upside down and some of them weren't. I was like, hey, do you know what that means? And he's like, what are you talking about? And thank you for actually saying that because it is a thing that I
didn't know about the upside down part.
Yes, upside down. Do you have some at your house upside down? Okay, so Lala. I love that story. I'm thankful for the person that raised you and offered you this tool that has turned into your work, which is incredible. And I'll get to sample that work soon. So stay tuned. But first, what is audio eroticism and erotica? Let's go into that first.
Yeah, so audio eroticism is sexually explicit audio content, and it's in the form of narrated erotic storytelling, and it has sexual noises and sounds that help with arousal. And then erotica are works of literature that are intended to arouse sexual desire or to be sexually stimulating, and it's storytelling that involves sexual themes that are supposed to be more realistic depictions of sexual activity and human sexuality, which typically isn't as depicted in pornography.
Okay, so it's very different. So we were going to ask that a little bit later, but I think maybe bringing that in here because so pornography, and we get a lot of emails from people who are like, "How do I find sex positive pornography?" And we've had this from it seems like folks of all genders and all bits, and they really there's this distinction between mainstream pornography and being a little bit more like objectifying or less supporting of vulva owning individuals or just the people in general, especially or different races or different ethnic backgrounds. And we just did a podcast with the Royal Fetish, who's creating their own genre of that. Yeah, they're awesome. They're amazing.
Badass.
So why is it that, in your opinion, why more female identified folks might identify with erotica or oral erotic, or not oral or aural, or you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Auralism, audio erotica, as opposed to pornography. What do you think about that?
So oftentimes with women, we have to do a lot of sensory mapping, and a lot of our turn on point starts with visualizing stuff in our mind. And so our biggest sex organ is our mind. So that's one of the biggest ways that we get turned on. And then women typically find erotic literature more empowering and female friendly than pornography. And within erotic literature, women are allowed to be able to grow a more relatable and emotional connection to the female main character and explore sexual fantasies through their imagination and sexual fantasies through erotic literature that they might not always be able to do with pornography, because when you're reading or listening to erotica, you can put yourself in the driver's seat of the heroine and kind of imagine yourself going on her sexual journey.
That makes sense. I never thought about that when I've been listening to audio erotica. Have you? About being more in the driver's seat than watching porn?
I'm usually just looking to like, whack the old clitoris down right there. I'm just kidding. I don't like to say whack. I mean, I massage sometimes, but no, I don't really pay attention that much. But now I will.
But
I will now.
That would make sense. Watching an image, and I'm like, I don't identify with that person there in like the way their body is moving or the way they look or whatever. But maybe if I hear them, then I could just like create a story of making them me or something. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Oh. You with the British accent?
I don't know.
You have a terrible British accent. That's what I'm saying. Oh, I'm there.
I just have terrible accents other than Amy Baldwin, who does accents randomly for no
but
reason.
It's actually quite nice when you do it.
Oh, thank you so much.
I love it. That wasn't bad.
All right. I'm a little Australian. I'm not sure.
I give it a 2.3 out of 10 right now.
Thanks.
We're going to work on that.
Well, that's why this isn't my job. This is Lala. So that's why you're going to listen to Lala, not me. Okay. So what is, and I'm going to say this incorrectly, an auralism kink? And is audio hypnosis erotica part of this?
So yes, it definitely can be part of it. So I call it auralism. I might be saying it wrong.
Auralism.
I don't know. Whatever. Tomato.
So it's basically someone who gets sexually aroused through sound, and it's not only sexual or erotic sounds. It can be nature, someone's voice, ASMR, or calming sounds, or anything that brings that person sensation. And so a person who is aroused by sounds, it's subconsciously practicing mindful sensuality. And while males tend to be more responsive to visual stimulations, what you'll see is that it's quite common in women to get off from sound kink, because typically women use all five senses to explore their sexuality more so.
So you're saying like vulva owners use all five senses more so than penis owners, as a generalization, that like they're like more in tune with this part of them, and then penis owners are a little more like, I only use like three of the senses, or
well, typically for them,
one of them,
one sense, yeah, my dick.
Yeah, it basically takes them one sense to get turned on, whereas women typically have to connect all five senses to get all the pleasure during sex.
Okay, so and we're not all about generalizing over here.
Yeah, you could be in that movie with Bruce Willis from the 90s called The Sixth Sense.
Oh,
yes. And have the ghost tap into your
someone has an eighth sense. I don't know.
Yes.
And also, yes, I mean, if I speak for like, okay, my generalized population of people that I know, the female identified and vulva owning people I'm with, we hang out, we talk more about like emotions and or seem like we're a little bit more open to our emotional state of being, whereas the penis owning male identified folks, especially in the heteronormative world, are more conditioned otherwise, and so maybe they're capable of it.
Yes.
But they're just cultured or taught or something not to, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm not a scientist, and nor do I believe all scientists anyways.
Yeah. Or it might just be that they get turned on a lot quicker. And so visualizations at the gate, if they see something, it might be more easy. Like, you know how they like to say that vulva owners are more like cars getting started. Like, you need to warm up.
That's me. I'm like an old car. It needs a lot of warm up. Need like 20 minutes in the driveway.
Arousal. That's the arousal non-concordance and all of those pieces that come into play with vulva play versus how a lot of penis owners out there, and this is not all because there's so many humans and every human is different with their turn-ons. However, biologically speaking, for the most part, a lot of penis owners can be turned on with just the visual, whereas the vulva owners tend to have the car scenario where they need their oil changed and their fluids filled before you can drive the motherfucker.
No fluids unless there's lube for
a while. Top off the fluids, bro. You got to top them off.
Yeah, that means like, okay, we're going to get into that one. All right. So, and hey, if you're a penis owner and you're like, I'm actually the car like Amy in the driveway that needs to hang out for 20 minutes in Minnesota in the winter to be warmed up.
You actually do because the oil ends up freezes. Yes. No, Wisconsin. But yes, went to college in Minnesota.
And the oil freeze and you got to do the whole windshield thing and her old, would you have a Volkswagen? Old
that thing died before I got to college. Okay.
Right. Anyways,
before I went to university.
So you take a long time. So maybe, or you're listening and you're like, I don't know what turns me on. Is it more of the audio, aural, aural way of listening? Or whatever, however we say it. It's in our ears. We are going to play a clip for you. So April is going to read a little snippet. This is an intro to something that Lala sent us, and then we're going to play the clip. April, tell us about Your Friends Can Play Too by Lala.
Okay, and we had Amy and I had a thought process beforehand. So just a disclaimer. I haven't actually read this. I'm reading it as I go.
Listened to it.
But I listened to it and it's sexy as fuck. And then we're going to hear it after from Lala herself. So here we go.
No, she's not reading it after.
No, she's not reading it after. But we're going to have a clip of it.
Yes. That's right after. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Just being clear here, Amy. High five, Amy. We're good planners.
We got this.
Woohoo.
That was a weird high five. Okay.
Here we go. Take an erotic adventure to Ibiza with a curvy exotic dancer named Butterscotch. She's trouble with a capital T and is willing to throw caution to the wind when she has a strong opinion and idea she can't get out of her mind. When a sexy, mysterious man approaches her to go on vacation, how can she resist it? Especially when he has two attractive best friends whose company she wants to enjoy. Why choose one when she can have all three? But Butterscotch will soon find out not everything is as it appears to be, and this may be more of an adventure than this vixen can handle. All right, y'all, here we go.
Holy fuck. Fucks me tenderly as I swirl my clitoris, bouncing up and down.
What about some of the rhyming that went on?
The dick? Yeah, the dick.
Oh my God.
Did you mean to do that? Oh my God.
I love that.
So we listened before, and then of course, we listened during this. And you should see April's face, by the way, as we pressed pause for her to listen, was just like eyes wide open, taking a sip of wine.
I was getting bekluft, as they say some places. Bekluft. It's like I'm all heated and hot because it was hot.
I wanted to take my
you're skilled.
Top off.
Lala
ruined my headphones.
Thank you.
Yes. Taking my top off.
Yeah.
That's up to you, girl.
Yes. So I love what you're creating, what you're offering, and it totally speaks to us. And we're not talking about love language.
Wait, feedback on how I read the intro to that, Lala? Well, could I use some more inflection on some of the?
Hot. I thought it was hot. Yeah.
I was like
I need
Butterscotch.
you to come on.
Oh, by the way, if you're not watching this in that, and you heard about this Butterscotch, but we're talking about Lala, but Lala's breast. Can I just say? Damn.
I honestly love those so much.
I know Butterscotch is a persona, but those breasts are a part of you. So if you're not following us on TikTok, Instagram, and all the things, we have clips on YouTube. Then and Lala has a brilliant mind. So let's bring it
back to the mind.
Okay, deep breath. Okay, got this. Lala, Butterscotch. What are the benefits of incorporating erotic content into your personal lifestyle? It's like your personal world.
Yeah, so it has mental health and sexual health benefits. The mental health benefits is that it can be therapeutic and reduce stress and anxiety by reading or listening to arousal material. I always think that reading and sex are both therapeutic activities. So if you combine them together through erotica, then it's double the relaxation, in my opinion. And it can improve your mood and make your emotions more positive because it releases the feel good hormones like dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin. And then the sexual health benefits is that it helps you with sexuality exploration of desires and fantasies. And it can be used as a mental exercise that helps you reach orgasm because it's arousing material. And then I'm a huge proponent of foreplay should go on all day. So you can use this as a way to build up anticipation and help set the mood through the sexual stimulating content. And then it helps improve your sex life by normalizing or changing the narrative in your head about female sexuality because it puts female or vulval owner pleasure in the forefront, and that's what the focus is around. And it can make you feel sexier in and out the bedroom. It helps give you sexy ideals in the bedroom, and it can get you more aroused and increase your libido.
So just to recap that, because that's important, everyone. You're getting physical, emotional, and mental self-care just by tapping in and having some erotica in your life.
You just have to hang out and listen. That's kind of it,
mean,
right? I kind of lay on my couch and do that.
You could just basically drift off to the sexy sounds of butterscotch and all of the endeavors.
The other characters.
Yes.
Well,
I'm sorry. I can't even stop with it, but I like talking like that now.
Do you want to read it again, Chip?
No. Everyone.
What does butterscotch do next? I want to know what April thinks butterscotch does next.
I don't know, but it's Adventures of Butterscotch. Someone should do a comic strip about the adventures of butterscotch in all of the glory of butterscotch on the mission of having.
See, but now we're bringing in the visual, though.
Oh, sorry. Well, because I would add. Never mind. Not about me. We're going to go on to that later. Stay tuned.
April's making a whole comic book.
Yes, I have an idea.
Like, are we making porn now? What's going on, Chip? I don't know.
We're going to make erotic porn. We're going to make erotic comical porn. No, comic-oriented porn.
I have a question.
Oh,
Which
damn
actually does exist.
I know. That's what I'm saying. But we're going to have butterscotch in there.
So I have a question about the lifestyle. So is your work more geared towards vulva owners or female identified folks? Or like, I'm pretty sure some people of all genders could get off to what you're talking about. I mean, I guess if you're speaking to just like heteronormative engagements between a penis owner and vulva owner, or it's like very clear that there's straight people hooking up, then maybe not everyone, but like I'm pretty sure some penis owners could be like, that's really hot.
Yeah, I do. I do have a pretty much. So from my podcast, it's almost a pretty much even split. So men do enjoy it as well. And then I have also as well, I try to be inclusive. So I do have some stories for that LGBT plus community. And that's part of my goal is to bring more of them in with their voices and let them voice the content and write stories to be on the podcast as well.
So before I ask you this next question, because this next question is really great. It's about relationships. I remember this story just came up for me as you were mentioning the answer to Amy's question. But I remember I was in 4th grade and I was at my friend's house and I asked her if I could have a book because she was doing some kind of project. I don't know if it was for school, it was an art project. And she's like, well, my dad has this book that I've wanted to read for a while, but you should check it out. And I don't remember the name exactly, but I started reading it and I was sitting there and it was full blown erotica. And it might have been related to some kind of, it was so fucking hot. And I think I was 11, 10 or 11 at the time, because I remember I was double digit, but I was not old enough to read that book. And I was like, it was super hot. And I read just, I think 5 pages. And then homegirl came back from her project and I was like, I wanted to go bait. And I was like, have you ever read this? And she's like, no, but my dad, it's always been in the back area and he's gone all the time. And I remember that was my first experience with erotica, reading erotica.
So you didn't ask her to read it to you?
No, I actually, I hid it like from her. And I was like, do you know about that book? She's like, where did
you steal it?
No, I didn't steal it because my mom found it. She probably would be mad. But I want to say it's something that had to do with, I want to say it was something with Hustler, but I don't know exactly. So that being said, let's move on to the next question. I just remember that was my first experience with anything that had to do with Erotica, and that is amazing. So
we're super curious about though is like because you said this a little bit in the question before, but the relational piece, like how this can spice up relationships. So and we talked about like your own practice and how it could spice things up. But is this like listening with partners or together, or what you learn from listening to what you offer? Like how does that spice up relationships?
Yeah, so that's part of it too. So it can be a way to form a deeper connection by reading erotica out loud to each other as a form of foreplay to build up that anticipation. And then you can listen to erotica together while exploring each other's erogenous zones. So I like that too. Like there's this thing with 5 gears of touch, and you can do like a date night around that. And like you start with stage 1 and put on some erotica and touch each other to that. And then you can use it for ideals for bedroom scenes and explore fantasies or discuss fantasies with a partner. And like if you have a hard time bringing up fantasies or talking about kink, you can be like, hey, I read this in this hot book and here's the scene. And so like, let's try this out in the bedroom. And then also it can just be used as a tool to mentally prepare yourself for sexual intercourse if you suffer with sexual anxiety. And then also studies have shown that vulva owners who read erotica have 74% more sex. So it builds up the anticipation for sexual intercourse. And that comes from the National Library of Medicine.
What were those 5 pieces you mentioned in the beginning? 5?
So there's 5 gears of touch. So the first one you start with, it's more like you start with kissing and touching without, everything is above the clothing. And then you go to 2 where you do like foot massages and you do caresses. And then there's sensual touch where you do like sexy dancing. So you can do like a strip tease or salsa dancing. And then you move up to level 4 where it's like the mutual masturbation. That's a good time to introduce toys. And then you can also do oral. And then the last one is 5, which is like going back to old school, it's like the home run where you do like intercourse and stuff like that. So.
Which most people are just going from 1 to 5. That's it. Like, wait, what's all this other stuff you talk about? I like that because so oftentimes we talk about foreplay, it feels, and a lot of people in the sex positive world are kind of like trying to move away from foreplay as just it being its own thing. Yes. So like, I just touched the nipples for 2 minutes and we're good and we're ready to go. Or you mean as like a timed out thing of like the amount of time spent with foreplay, or what do you mean? What Lala's laying out is that these different layers of it, of all these ways we can expand touching and connecting with the body beyond just like we kiss, I touch your nipples, now my mouth is on your cock or on whatever, and now we're fucking. And there was so much more there in what you said, and I think that's what people think of in foreplay, which is kind of problematic when someone's asking, "I want more foreplay" to their partner. They're like, "Okay, cool. So I just lick your clit for 5 more minutes," or like, "No. I have a whole body and I want that sexy striptease dance that Lala's talking about. And I want you to massage my foot." And the dry humping is a huge piece too. Humping. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Maybe pour some hot candle wax on me if I'm a kinky human. There's the possibilities are limitless, but I like the expansion of that. So in regards to tools, then you want to ask about this one, or in regards to tools for erotica, and finding more recommendations, obviously, and we're going to ask you after this how people can work with you. So that's going to be a huge piece because everyone go check out Lala's work. But if people want to really learn more about how to dip their toes in, their foot massage toes in, to getting more erotic content, what are your recommendations?
So my recommendations, if you're just starting out, is the Breathless series by Maya Banks. And that one it's like a male dominant, female submissive vibe. And then there's also Crossfire series by Sylvia Day, which touches on some trauma healing. And then it also has a dominant male, female submissive storyline as well. And then one of my favorite series that I read, if you're like really into degradation and humiliation kinks and daddy kink, is this Cinderella story by Kay Webster. And then also another good one, if you're just trying to dip your toes in, is the Sweet series by Maya Banks as well. And that covers a plethora of stuff from sex clubs to light bondage to impact play. It has a lot of different elements in it.
Can I just speak to talking about Cinderella and a lot of these fairy tale stories? I just watched, because all of them stemmed from some pretty dark tales, from a lot of them from this 1800s, some even before. I watched the the new Pinocchio that's out with Tom
geez.
Hanks.
Sounds scary.
Well, I liked it. No judgment. I'm not a very big movie critic. I really just applaud filmmaking a lot of times and acting, but the darkness of it, they locked Pinocchio in a fucking cage. I didn't realize that when I was little, when it's a cartoon.
Cinderella was in the castle,
and then
right?
Cinderella was all locked up by her stepmother after her father died. And then there's so much darkness in those fairy tales, and turning those into kinky, fun, erotic stories makes so much sense to me, because I mean, not that I was thinking about the Pinocchio piece because he's a fucking wooden boy, but I was like, what the fuck? Like,
someone might get off to Pinocchio.
I don't know. But as a child watching those things, and then as an adult fantasizing and turning those things into sexy erotica seems like the next frame that I would go to in life, being like, yeah, what did they do to Cinderella? Oh, they locked her up.
Yeah.
And now Butterscotch is coming in with her 2 others to say, hi, Cinderella, did you make me a dress today?
And then beat the shit out of the people that locked you in the tower.
Yeah.
Because she's in control. Go fuck you.
And then Cinderella like deep fisting on some level or something.
For the abusers. And now we lost all listeners.
No way.
No, it's hot still. No, it's
or
deep.
Sleeping Beauty was on fucking drugs and they drugged her, and then Prince Charming, that was not consensual.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. That's true. Oh my God. Oh my God. Disney, please don't sue us. Well, and I just
we couldn't afford that, Chip. We'd be out. We'd be out. Disney, we encourage you to ask us more questions.
Well, what I'll add to just that piece, in which will tie into what your work, Lala, is like.
I think we should keep on this conversation.
No, let's keep talking about Disney.
We're going Rogan on it.
We're going full Joe. All right, never mind. Anyways, no, we're not. So just, yes, people, there is an actual skill or brilliant tool in the mind and body to utilize traumatic experiences or hurtful or harmful experiences and eroticize them as a part of healing. So I know a number of people who have had some really terrible things that have happened that it's switched in their minds. Now they're the ones in power, kind of readdressing that in a power place. And so I think audio erotica and erotica in general can offer that, right?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Like, that's actually part of the reason too that I really got into erotica and audio erotica, is because I was in a therapy session and my therapist was like, well, write what happened to you and make it how you wish it would have occurred. And so that was a really good exercise. And so there's also books too where you can find healing. Like, there's this one book I read in Off-Campus series by L. Kennedy, where it talks about where both characters are going through traumatic events, and part of the healing is getting reacquainted with sex and growing a healthy relationship together. And that was so empowering. After I read that book, even though it was fictitious, I was able to speak to my partner better about how to handle and be in a relationship with someone who's dealt with trauma. So yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And there's people out there that, like myself, that I love sound healing with just like closing my eyes and hearing their therapeutic sounds of various levels. And it's not wooey here. These are actually proven. And then there's the, what are the people that say like, I'm going to take a brush.
Oh yeah.
Brush her. ASMR. And that's all. And there are people that have really blown up and become hugely famous on YouTube and different varieties of resources and platforms by doing ASMR work. And that is all. There's something to say about audio. There is people that haven't never tapped into erotica that are listening out there. Go check out, especially Lala's work, because it's pretty fantastic. And this is a perfect segue. How, Lala, can folks out there listening work with you, find you? And I know you have a podcast, you have various platforms, so please share with all of us in your Lala-ness.
So yeah, people can work. So what I have currently is a website. If you go to lalasbedtimetales.com, you'll have access to not only erotic stories, but there's also love and sex advice from licensed counselors and sex therapists. And there's also, I partner with medical professionals to get them to write articles about reproductive health and sexual health. So there's some educational blogs there as well. And then you can listen to my podcast anywhere that you listen. And it's Lala's Bedtime Tales Erotic Stories. And I'm always hanging out on Instagram at Lala's Bedtime Tales, providing entertainment and sexual education.
Oh, Lala. I just
April's practicing.
love your bedtime tales. I learned a lot from listening to your erotica, and your podcast is fantastic. And I think that folks definitely check that out. And I love how you're advocating for just sexual health, for folks to have more shameless sex, because that's really all of this is intertwined and woven together. It's one big web of amazingness. And you all that are listening are part of that. And thank you, Lala, for sure. We will check out all of your work as often as I do, because I'm an Audible human and I do get turned down. I hope you don't mind. I get turned down by you and your voice.
Yeah. She's used to it. She's like, do you know how many people are baiting to me?
Yeah. She's like, duh. So to all you shameless sex revolutionaries listening out there, if you didn't tune in on YouTube, definitely check us out. We're Shameless Sex on YouTube. And then Instagram, we're Shameless Sex Podcast. We just had our TikTok removed after we had a blown out post that had like 400,000 views in like an hour or less. And so they removed us. We broke their we didn't break the internet. We will soon, but we broke their guidelines, and there was nothing explicit out there. So if you don't know TikTok, it's TikTok, and that is something that you can go check out. And
I think we're at Shameless Podcast on there.
We're at Shameless Sex Podcast on TikTok, like that, until they try to remove us again. But the world here can listen to podcasts about sex freely spoken, because we have this platform, whatever you're listening on, whether it's Spotify, you can actually rate us on Spotify, give us 5 stars. It helps more people find us. Or iTunes, give us 5 stars. It helps more people find us. We read every single review and we love each and every one of you. We actually feel like we have free speech still. So I hope that maintains. I believe it will. I also believe I can fly sometimes and I can't. So
in your dreams.
Yes. I just love that Seal song too from the 90s. Thank you, Seal.
Oh, you dated yourself just now.
I know. I don't mind. I'm 40. I'm fine. All right, y'all. We'll see you next Tuesday. We love you. Ciao for now.